Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome for the second time this evening here from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. We saw the Formula Fords earlier on. Now it's the time of the SRFs, the Ford Spec Racers here on Weekend Warriors, presented by RaceVoice on Apex Racing TV. I'm Tim Cox. We've got Samuli Kulamate in the virtual production trailer, as always. Tom Dillon joins me. Tom, I think I've only just about got over Red Bull Ring, and then earlier on, Formula Fords. Well, a complete topsy-turvy race. The driver taken out early stages, leading, and then went on through magic and more craziness, went on to win the race. And then we've got an even bigger grid here this evening. I'm so far counting the numbers up at, 46 or 47 drivers around the short layout of Road Atlanta.
And it's fantastic, and this layout of the circuit basically takes everything, every place at Road Atlanta that you can't overtake, that big sort of back section, and puts it into one, and takes that out and puts it into a circuit where there is always going to be a chance to try and force an overtake, particularly in these cars, which do so dearly love to follow each other and so dearly love to allow the drivers to send one down the inside at any opportunity they are able to get. I mean, it really is looking like a fantastic racetrack.
Oh, it most certainly is. Qualifying just underway right now. The standard, if you're here, as usual, open qualifying 20 minutes. We head out, of course, into 40 minutes of racing with a pit stop involved, double length. You normally see these cars race in the normal iRacing officials. But as you may see, the closest are Les Plever, new name at the top of the timing sheets, albeit provisionally, with a 103.1, only 6 thousandths of a second quicker than Felix Samaus and Marco Pinero. What has turned out to be the GOAT over the last season and a bit, completely untouchable, all the way down in 5th, the third row of the grid. But before we get into things, let's take a look at the championship standings. Just refresh our memory after 2 rounds of the season. First off, Spec 1, it's Marco Pinero, surprise, surprise, who leads the way, but only by 6 points over Jason Green. Pellegrini in 3rd. There was Samaus by Suzul, Overstreet, Lasky, Gold, and Darlow, and Claudio Andrea to round out that top 10. I mean, that second half incredibly close in terms of points into Spec 2. Well, this is always a bit topsy-turvy. You can gain and lose so many points very quickly and very easily. And in fact, Philip Berry now leads the championship standings only by 4 points over Jeff Wibker. Ian Gibson in third, only 1 point behind. That is how close it is. 5 points separating our top three. Ken Batley, he's still well within the shout in fourth, and so is Josh Justice in fifth. McCain getting a little bit cup of drift, but as I said, he can flip in an instant down in sixth. Then Viglini, Perkins eighth, Swig, Latorlo, and Pocock running out the Spec 2 Championship into Masters. Well, Masters by name, Masters by nature. Tom Gradwell leading the way though. 3 points over Jorgmani after not the best opening rounds, of course, taken out, and that's why he's currently lying in second place in the championship. As I said, only 3 points behind Gradwell, and then 4 points behind him. As the effervescent Jim Brewster had a cracking race early on in the Formula 4 to finish second in class. Brad Cathcart, he's fourth in the championship. Gary Warbolt fifth. There's Mitchell Kern, Antonio Rice, who could have won earlier on if it hadn't been drama with a few back markers, which eradicated his massive lead and ended up having to retire. Eli's eighth with Bradshaw and Horniak rounding out that top 10. Actually, a bit of mention to Andrew Love, winner in Masters earlier on in the Formula 40s, and also managed to finish in the top 3 overall. His best result ever in Weekend Warriors. And one of the, as we spoke to Jim Brewster, funnily enough, post-race, he said one of the long-standing members of the Weekend Warriors. So hopefully he can maybe have a bit more of that luck carry across into the SRF race. But qualifying said well underway. We've got just over 5 minutes left, and well, we had hot track temperatures early on, whopping, well, it climbed all the way up to 59 degrees Celsius, around about 140 odd in Fahrenheit. Little bit cooler here though for the SRS, 43 degrees Celsius track temperature. It's 113 degrees Fahrenheit, or in freedom units as they're more commonly known to our good friends across the pond, and I'm regularly ribbed by them for it. So a little bit more manageable compared to what we saw earlier on today. But there's been a change for pole. Jorgmani has taken provisional pole position, 7 thousandths of a second quicker than Les Pleaver, with a tenth, well, just over half a tenth, covering our top 4, Tom Dillon. It's game on, isn't it?
Well, it absolutely is. It so often is in the in these SRF Weekend Warrior races, and well, interesting as well to see Jorgmani on pole position at the moment in the Masters category. Only 7 thousandth of a second in it, and we're right now having a look at Les Pleaver getting himself revved up and ready to go for his last couple of opportunities at this pole position. You would think that 7 thousandth of a second is absolutely nothing for him to try and grab back, but obviously expecting Jorgmani, who is in the pits right now, to himself try and come back out and improve. I'm seeing a little bit less of a battle in Spec 2 though. Tim McCain has got a fair margin over Gibson in the 18th position. This is Alan McCain on pole at the moment, but obviously the points are given out overall, so I'm sure Alan McCain wouldn't mind getting himself into the top 10 overall if at all possible.
Well, certainly, and if it hadn't been for bad luck for Alan McCain, he'd be standout championship leader in Spec 2, but as incidents that's yet again cost him dearly, the Northern Ireland driver. Well, if he didn't have any bad luck, then he wouldn't have any luck at all whatsoever. It always seems to be the way for poor Alan, but let's say, another strong qualifying, as it always is, and well, he's in the 212 car, and he currently lies in 12th position as things stand at the moment. And there's a man, Andrea Spitoni, never sets a time in qualifying. And guess what? He's not done the same yet. He has had 4 laps, but just keeps bailing on them, just getting a bit of practice in. Although one I like, he just has to set a time. But it's very slow, so to ensure he starts on the back, watch out for him as he always comes through the field. There's Michel Voglini and Salien. Another driver yet to set a time. Only put 2 laps in so far, each of them being deleted for track limits. So, at the moment, he will start 47th all the way back on row 24. Yes, that's the sort of numbers we deal with in terms of rows here. No messing around. Panero, though, 6th.
it's almost impossible to think of 47 cars barreling down into turn 1 around this circuit.
Especially the short layout.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting, especially on the start, because I mean we saw it earlier on in the Formula 4. They elected all to start single file for safety's sake. Will we see the same again today in the SRFs? I would hope so. I'd like to think so. For as again, say for safety's sake, because it's so easy with the fast-flowing nature of these last few corners here at Road Atlanta that you need to really. Otherwise, you have such a clumsy start, and it's so slow and cumbersome, and it's so easy to get it wrong. Of course, as I said earlier on, you saw it in the IMSA race. Even the top-level pros in GTP, they got it wrong. So, for us hearty sim racers, and certainly not at the pro level, although there's a few knocking on the doors of it, certainly even within this championship, and we've even had a few pros in the past, as Levandro Dantas showing how he can go wrong very quickly and bouncing across, and that's the end of his car. And, well, looking at the clock at the end of his qualifying as well, Tom, as we hit 19 minutes, 1 minute left.
Well, I'm interested to see that Yukmani as well hasn't come back out of the pits. He thinks his lap time is enough. If I'm not mistaken, we saw him do the same thing last week, not go out for that final qualifying run. Alice Plaver then is the one who is really gunning for that pole position. He sits in second at the moment. So let's take a look at Alice as he goes across the line to start his final lap. Panero goes to pole position, so it is 1:03.069 is the time to beat. And I'm starting to think that Yogmani might be regretting not coming back out for his final run.
I'll tell you what, leaving it till late, your final lap, but one lap is all it takes, and Marco Panero catapults himself from row 3 to row 1. He will provisionally be starting from pole with, what an astounding lap, 1:03.069. Plaver, no improvement there, only good enough for third right now. Row 2 alongside Felix Samals as things stand at the moment. And in fact, realistically, with our top 11 all in the pits or just heading out on laps, I mean, well, he's heading out on lap really, because there you go, check flag is out. Time to complete your laps, drivers. Pellegrini 17th, and wow, launches himself up inside the top 10 into 9th right at the depth. Look at how close that is. I mean, so many gaggles of positions being separated by 1/10. I mean, I look at Kate Lasky in 15th all the way down to, Jenny Longin realistically in 22nd, separated by a fraction over a tenth for those. I mean, so many of the positions lying like that, so many of them be separated by, well, not even hundredths of a second, but thousandths of a second. Susan and Pellegrini only 6,000ths of a second, separating those two in 8th and 9th respectively. There's Jim Brewster across the line. He'll start, well, potentially 29th, and I'm just having a little look through the grid. Yeah, 47 runners and riders here today, Tom. Ooh, this could be treacherous. Well, if they can get through the first couple of laps okay, I think we'll be all right to start off with. But with 1.75 miles of track length, and a minute, just over a minute long in terms of track length, in time. Tony heading into the pits there after setting the fastest middle sector of anyone, showing his pedigree and showing how easy it is to get it wrong on pit entry with overcooking it. Well, I mean, it's that first pass through the traffic that's going to be very treacherous, to say the least. I think for certain here today from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, but with everyone lining up behind the Porsche 911 safety car, let's take you through your grid. Marco Panero starts on pole with York Marnie joining him on the front row. Alice Pleaver as Felix Miles on row 2, and then it's Evandro Dantas and Jason Green on row 3. Row 4 is Antonio Race and Vice Uzel, with Pellegrini and Simon Mayer running out your top 10, Tom.
Charles Tabino and Tom Grudwell sit just outside of the top 10 in 11th and 12th. Alan McCain on pole position for your Spec 2 field. Dudu Castro is alongside him in 14th. Kane J. Lasky in 15th alongside Leandro Frenero, with Flavio Ndalo and Ian Gibson 17th and 18th. Rounding out the top 20 is Jason Perry and Michael Nelson.
Jesus Rodriguez has Jenny Long in for company on row 11. Row 12, that's Steve Elson and Megan Overstreet. Finished second early just moments ago in the Formula Ford race. Ken Batley has Phil Berry for company, with row 14 being Luca Leone and Andrew Love, your winner in Masters earlier on. Jim Brewster, fellow Masters driver Kurt Nunes for company throughout the top 30 and row 15.
Jeff Rubka and Brad Cathcart 31st and 32nd, with Claudio Gardini and Joshua Justice just behind him. Dan Wood is in 35th with Aaron Vergeli in 36th. Stephen Mitchell and Bradford Gould are alongside each other in 37th and 38th. Next row is all Spec 2. Anthony Cabone Jr. with Carlos Navarro. That is the top 40. Tim, just 7 more people on the grid.
Just 7, you know, let's make up 47 car grid. Charlie Vaccaro is alongside Paul Jackson. Bit of a disappointing qualifying for the Brit by his own standards. Likewise, Tom Laurie alongside Adam Bradshaw on row 22. Row 23, that's Bob Kurt and Andreas Battoni. And Michelle Vaglini Italian, rounding out your 47 car grid. 24 rows. Well, let's have a quick mention as they head out behind the safety car, complete their formation lap. About our 2 sponsors after this series. First off, it's RaceVoice. We're looking for a simple way to transform complicated performance data into easy to understand voice notification alerts. Then make sure you check them out. They have over 16 different notifications, including up and down shift, over rev alerts, corner entry, turn in and exit speed. It provides immediate feedback on driver and vehicle performance. Make sure you head across to racevoice.com to find out more about them. And then we've got Apex Racing Academy with 29 data packs for road and oval racing, involving setups, track guides, integration with Virtual Racing School, or VRS as they're more commonly known. You also have weekly group coaching sessions, one-on-one coaching sessions, and much, much more. So make sure you check out Apex Racing Academy. They come around the back of the circuit now. Mention only 1.75 miles here. Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta on the short course. But who is gonna take this one, Tom? Well, I mean, so tight in qualifying as always. I think it could go absolutely anyway.
I think it could, and I think Pinero and Varney are going to be keen to get away from the pack here if they can work together at all that they should. Even though it's overall points, I still think Marnia wants to protect his Masters lead over potentially the overall position, so maybe limited risk from him.
Let's find out. Let's get ready to go racing here from Road Atlanta as we are green and we are going. We're already banging doors on the run down to turn 1. Marnie, Plaver, and Samaus going free wide. They're backing out of it. Samaus just dropping in behind Marnie and Plaver as we head through turn 1 the first time. They elected to start 2 by 2, and a lot of them still remain that way as we head up through the S's for the first time. All still pretty much nip and duck. Jason Perry's on a fly. He's already at 5 places before we've even got going. Duda Castro did not make the grid, neither did Carlos Navarro. So already down to 45, just the 45.
Oh dear, that is a huge crash. And it's Tom Gradwell. Tom Gradwell's been gone around, and I think that's his engine gone as well as a car. Streams through 47 Spec Racer Fords trying to avoid him. And eventually he gets through, not unscathed, and everyone else gets through unscathed on him. This is 4 wide, 5 wide maybe as we go down into the chicane for the first time. This is unbelievable stuff, Tim.
And you spot on 3 wide, onto the brakes we go, and then they're going to sort themselves out as Paul Jackson just casually sliding through, and a bit of a bump from Charlie Vaccaro there. So Jackson, bit of damage to the rear. That's not going to cost him too much though. It's just side by side Jackson, and well, who's that in front of him? That is Jeff Wubka, being the opportunistic, and talking about opportunistic, there goes Bradshaw, just sliding his way through as Jackson gets wide out onto the grass and undoes all of his hard work there in an instant. But I said, oh no, that's the whole Jim Brewster after finishing second in the Formula Fords. Well, maybe he's disappointed, well, and have a big afternoon if he's looking to finish second in class again here in the SRFs. Drops down to 13th in class, 44th overall. So realistically, the retired, well, didn't start Navarro and Castro behind him, as well Gradwell, who's now into the pits.
Marco Pinero has held on to the lead of the race for the time being. Giorgmani staying line of stern in second position, but he might just have a little bit of a look as they go down into turn 1 already onto lap 3 of the race, and Marnie is gaining a fair bit in the slipstream. It's really the chicane that is your main overtaking opportunity around here, but I'm sure Marnie will take a look if at all possible. They are now pulling away slightly, ever so slightly, from Alice Plever and Felix Samaus, who are just behind. That being said, as Marnie looks one way, looks the other to try and get alongside Pinero, that is allowing Alice Plever to catch up.
Well, in fact, Marnie just slammed the door there in Plever's face massively as he cut across the front of it. I did wonder initially, Tom, I was holding my breath thinking, is this going to be contact? But no, they managed to avoid it. Those fans of Andres Bertoni, how many points positions he can gain, up to 32nd right now, up an incredible 14. And well, he's still not done as we go too wide on the run down the hill. Samaus versus Plever. But in fact, Samaus just slotting in front, Plever just sort of yielding that position with relative ease. Now we've got a lot of racing left to do. Only 3 minutes completed out of the 40 so far. To head into the Fox Factory Bridge. We come round to head out onto lap 4 here. Green's had a reasonable start. He's no, apologies, I thought he made up a few places, but no, he's remained where he is. In fact, there's a few behind them. There's a few drivers making up places. Elson, he's up 7. He's up into 16th as all. No. Well, you heap praise on someone, and then curse the commentator strikes as Jason Green. That's down to 13th and slots in behind McCain in 12th. You see leader in Spec 2 right now.
Jason Green is perhaps struggling a little bit down in 13th position, having lost that little bit of time to Alan McCain. Meanwhile, I can see Longin falling down the order a couple of spots down into 21st position. Gianni Longin, 965 car, here he is. And I think he might have just gone off onto marbles of some description. That's lost him a position. Michael Nelson goes wide, allows back through Longin, back into 20th position. So not really sure what's going on there as they start to hit the brakes for the chicane on the 4th lap. George Marnie has made a huge mistake and he's off.
Oh, no, I think there's more involved.
And there might be, oh, yeah, there is.
Weisshussel caught up. Oh, Plever, who was running off. Wow, that's a big incident for him. Lasky off too. Wow, there's been carnage completely. I think you get into the pits. McCain, oh no, I said beforehand. Well, if he didn't have any luck, any bad luck, he'd have no luck whatsoever. There's all getting a bit loose and leery there. Who was that? I think that might have been Pinero, potentially. Wow, what a start here. I mean, drama right from the off. We haven't even completed 5 minutes here, Tom, and already we've had incidents that have cost so many of our front runners in all classes. As that is Jeff Webcott off, and who's that in front of him? That is the 905. Oh, another car involved. That's Aaron Vogler. Off too.
I was about to bring up a point as we go to the replay as Jorg Marnie see what happened to him. But Alberto Pellegrini, I mean, it must not be affecting him too much because he's continuing on with that, an engine cover.
Oh wow, that was a big incident. You see Marnie just slow off the corner there and Plever, just caught up with it. You see the carnage, 3, 4, 5 cars all involved in that one. And it's
everywhere.
It's exactly what we saw earlier on in the Formula Fords. Like a carbon copy incident. And Marnie was caught up in that one too earlier on. Well, that's really shaking things up.
Well, potentially this track isn't going to be invited back to the SRF Weekend Warriors calendar if it lends itself to incidents like that. But we've still got some fantastic battles going on, and no less between Elson and Darlow. Elson sitting in 5th position, and Darlow ready to try and attack him.
Tom, and on that, Elson capitalising on all the carnage. She's up 18 spots into 5th.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. And I mean, Bertoni is up 24. I mean, we know he enjoys starting in last position, and this track lends itself to that nice little drive through the field. It is what he does best, as there's a car off of the racetrack on the left-hand side. That's Michael Nelson. He started relatively well. He's back down into 23rd position. Bately and Love are side by side as they go through that final chicane, that final corner, I should say, and you'll be able to see them. Here they are. Andrew Love is on that outside line. Bately is on the inside line. No, make that exact role reversal. But Love on the inside trying to attack with all that he's worth, and I think he's just going to get overtaken here by Bately. It's still side by side. Luff eventually goes through.
Well, fascinating racing, absolutely scintillating here. And I tell you what, Love, I said he'd have his work cut out to finish on the podium in class once again. Well, he's on course for that, up to 4th in class now, up 7 places overall, 3 in class to 21st. And Kurt Nunes is not that far up the road. He's currently like 3rd in class. He's up 6 in class. Wait, some incredible changes here. Marnie's still leading Masters there, and that's going to be contact further. And Marnie, yet again, the same corner. And collected by Green and more cars. Josh Justice involved there.
And Marnie sensibly takes that car straight to the pit lane and gets it out of harm's way, because he's just, through no fault of his own, been involved and been the blockade in a 6-7 car pileup. That is nasty, nasty viewing. Second time it's happened. This is 3 wide though. Perhaps a little bit more clean racing between these guys as Anthony Carbone goes down the inside and into 23rd position. Charlie Vaccaro will try and get back past, as here he is as they go up into the first chicane of turns 2, 3 and 4. No doing just yet. And of course it's actually at turn 5 where they turn right, go right down, rejoin the track at turn 9 as 10 and 10B. Probably, as we mentioned, the best overtaking spots. Is Anthony then going to hold off as they go down into that 10A and 10B chicane? Around the outside is Vaccaro. Here he goes, trying to get that 23rd position back. Down the inside he goes, late on the brakes, and Charlie Vaccaro makes a very fine move.
Of course, this track home to the famed Petit Le Mans. Well, the action here is certainly not being petit whatsoever. Well, that 10-hour race, 500-mile event, had quite possibly inside the first 10 minutes about the same amount of drama, excitement and action as Nick. Well, you're heaping praise on Charlie Vaccaro, and there he is. It's a round-up before he's even got to turn 1. I'm not too sure how he's managed that one. A lot of damage to the front end, so that says to me maybe contact with someone else and he's hit the wall, probably on the inside by that damage. It's Samuli with the replays as always. That's Josh Justice in front of us. He's carrying damage himself, so he gets the move done around the outside. Does he hit off the grass? Yes, he does. And then, wow. Bang, bang. That's all she wrote. And around he goes, pointing in the wrong direction. Loses a lot of places. And, well, he's into the pits, in fact. So that's looking like Charlie Vaccaro's day is done and dusted. He started with 47 on the grid. Well, we're already down to, I'm just looking through the numbers, roughly about 39, I believe. That's more drama.
That's second place. That's second place, Evandro Dantas, and he's going to find himself under pressure from Tabino in the 53 if he's not careful. Gianni Longin is out from the lead, and there's more bodywork flying everywhere. Phil Berry, the Aussies involved. Gianno Longini, you can see there, we already saw him go off of the racetrack. Phil Berry has come a cropper as well, and there you go, out of the Masters League. Lead is Longini. I say that actually, I'm looking back at my monitor. There's been so much happening in this race. My other monitors a couple of seconds delayed on the YouTube stream. Longini wasn't quite out of the lead. He was right alongside Nunes. So I wonder if those two have come together. But Kurt Nunes now has breathing room in the Masters lead. Panero has got breathing room in the overall lead. This is another battle going on. Jason Perry on the inside. Lasky around the outside, trying to find a way through. Potentially Rodriguez here in the 76, looking to make it 3 wide as they go down into turn 1. No one can quite find the grip. Everyone understeering and through, I think, as onto the grass on the left-hand side goes one of the cars through, I think, might go Rodriguez.
Well, there's the ever opportunistic Overstreet just slotting through, inflicting more pain onto Kane Lasky, who drops down to 10th place. Overstreet now at 15, 7 in class to 9th. How many more can she climb? Oh, I'm just looking at the positions climbed by so many of the drivers. I know incidents have played a part in it, but oh, what's happened to Andreas Bottoni? I mean, well, it's not stopping his charge whatsoever. 33 into 13, and that's with no front end whatsoever. The drivers do have one fast repair to their name, and I think there's going to be a lot of people utilising that very soon if they haven't done so already. I mean, to be on 33 with no front end, that is scintillating. I mean, aerodynamics don't really play too much part on these cars. Certainly on this track, no major straightaways where you can really capitalise the ability to slipstream these cars. There's Bertoni into the pits from, he was up to 14th or 15th maybe. Well, heads to the pits enough. That will, well, look at the clock as well. If he pits now, anyone who does, they will get home to the end on their fuel. So it's not all done and dusted for so many of our drivers. This is going to go right to the wire, I feel, Tom.
Well, when doesn't it?
Oh, that is very true. It does every week. It's like I'm surprised.
Yes, I know. I've only been here for 3 weeks, and it's been absolutely fantastic so far. The 76 is looking to go back down the inside of the 97. He should make that move before the corner even starts. He needs to be careful to not go deep there. He broke very, very late indeed. I think he's got it stopped in due course. Megan Overstreet again being ever opportunistic, as you mentioned. Looks to go down the inside of Perry up into 8th position. Megan Overstreet actually quietly on a very good drive through the field after a season so far, I would say, Tim, of perhaps what could have been. Can she get a second place here down into turn 1? No. Definitely backs out of it quite consciously there. And I think that was probably a smart move as well.
And also, I noticed as well, a little bit of fuel saving going on the run down into, well, on the forecourse, what is 10A and B. I think it works out to be about turn 8 or 9 on this short course here. And, well, up into 8th, that's now 16 places climbed. But after, if you can get past Jesus Rodriguez, who's ahead of her, 5 seconds to make up to Elson, who's just dropped down to 6th from 5th. However, he's still well within the fight with Flavio Andalo right now. And Marco Pinera now leads by a whopping 8 seconds. And that's Jeff Wubka off around. And I think, was that Tom Lorry going very slow as well? I think they might have had a little bit of a coming together, those two Americans. I think we're about to find out from the replay. Here we go, Tom Lorry. What happens to him? Does he lose it and then collect Wubka? Bounces across the... No, okay. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Right on cue. Collecting one another.
Well, that's not something you want to happen with your fellow countrymen, that's for certain. It's always a little bit awkward, more so than when it happens with other drivers. You sort of just feel like you're supposed to look after each other, I suppose, in a way, particularly in international leagues. Jörg Marni says in chat that it was poor driving from myself, he says. Disappointed and sorry to the guys. I caused so many issues. Well, we're glad you're tuning into the stream. You're unlucky today, of course, and well, I mean, it takes a good driver to own that like that, I think, Tim.
Oh, it certainly does. Well, that's York all over. You know, I love his racing, but we'll put his hand up when he's made a mistake. And no different here today whatsoever. It's the 319 just running wide. That's one of the back markers there. Just moving out of the way, allowing this, that's Michel Verglini, who's, I say back markers, he's in 28th. I mean, he's been in enough drama himself, but even so as well. We go 2 by 2. Down into turn 1, on to the brakes, and Kurt Nunes right now, your Masters leader, but only just because in this gaggle of cars, Andrew Love going, I said he had his work cut out if he wanted to try and take the victory here today in class, so we can get onto the podium. Like second in class right now, 12th overall, and Nunes only, well, he said he got Gardini in between the pair of them. The meat in a Masters sandwich right now. Technically, that does make him the sandwich, but using racing analogies, it works the opposite way round. As behind them, well, Gibson just slotting through. You can see them side by side. Oh, Tabino into the pits from 4th. That's an early stop. At 16 minutes on the clock, out of 40 complete. Maybe another one of the drivers carrying a bit of damage. There are so many of them here out on track, as Nunes now under a lot of pressure from Gardini, who moves left, moves right, trying to find the switchback, trying to find the run out of the final turn, but hasn't quite got it on the run down to 1. Might have to live and wait and fight another day. Like you say, Tom, it's down to that chicane. That's the hotbed for action here.
And Ken Bately's acutely aware of it, but Andrew Love fancies a chance up into turn 2, 3 and 4. He's going to find it. He is going to have to bide his time. I'm thinking on the point of the pit stops, though, here. Potentially, if you can get to the end now, go into the pits, get yourself into a nice little bit of clean air, and then just have a quiet time, and eventually people will run over each other, and you'll find yourself come the latter 10 minutes in a pretty decent spot. We're looking at battle right now, aside from that point between Bradshaw, Brewster, Tabino, Vogelili, and Pellegrini, I believe. So many people, and I apologise, I appreciate I may have butchered the 247's name there. They're going to go 3 wide regardless, though. Here we go, down into the chicane. It's a rather common sight here throughout the course of this race, and it looks like Jim Brewster is going to be second best in that occasion. Looks like a car has been pushed out onto the left-hand side as well. I couldn't quite see who that was who got pushed out onto the grass for a moment, but it is Tabino who gets the better of all of that. Someone who's not got the best of anything is Claudio Andrea Gardini, who's all the way onto the grass doing a bit of lawn mowing and does rather well to save the car. Oh, never mind. Does maybe rather well to save the car. I speak a little bit too soon. Racing Slicks can stick to anything, and well, they can stick to grass well enough here.
I've had Ken Batley come into the pits. Overstreet's got past Perry for 7th. It's all topsy-turvy here. Brunero now leading by 10 seconds over Dantas Meyer in that battle for 2nd. Well, it's battles are plenty up and down through the field right now. Just bring you up to date of exactly what's happening in each class, as there's Bradshaw having a move put on him by Aaron Vogler. So Nunes leads Masters, Love is 2nd in class, Brewster 3rd in class. There's 9th, 11th, 15th respectively. Spec 2, Ian Gibson leads the way, 10th overall. And then it's the fact the driver you're seeing right now, Aaron Vogler, currently lying 2nd in class with, well, Carlos Navarro, a lap down, but 22nd overall, 3rd in Spec 2. Although that's going to get just a little bit due to pit stops, I believe. Well, Joshua Justice the one to watch out for in that situation. What I say about Carlos Navarro, well, there you go, this is the commentator if there ever was one. Carlos Navarro around and damage to the rear. Not sure whether that was a result of the incident or happened before. So hard to tell here. In fact, he still, well, it's amazing, he still manages to hold on, but Dantas into the pits from 2nd. Mayer doesn't come with him, he carries on again.
So Dantas takes my suggestion, and we're going to see when he comes back out of the pits if he emerges ahead of everyone or into a bit of clean air. We'll wait and see once that all cycles through. We're back to this battle. Jesus Rodriguez leading a little bit of a train at the moment. Megan Overstreet pressurizing him as you see a car rejoining on the right hand side, but Rodriguez in a fairly decent run at the moment, 5th position. He'll be mindful of Perry as well, just behind him. They've got a fairly decent gap as well up to Nunes in 8th. So it is really these three able to take the gloves off and have a proper go at it. Is Megan Overstreet going to think about a move down into the turn 10? So notionally named turn 10, obviously roughly turn 5 on this racetrack, but down into the chicane anyway here at Road Atlanta. Thinks about the dive potentially, but then thinks against it. And I think this is smart from Overstreet. Knows that there's a fairly decent gap to the podium ahead and doesn't want to force that move and risk losing all of that time. And there's still plenty of pit stops to be made, and arguably the pit stops is where you gain or lose the most time in this entire race. That being said, will Overstreet think about it? No, this is pretty much point in case.
It's lifting off again. Fuel saving definitely proving a bit of a tactic here for Overstreet. You say about the pit stops, definitely right, certainly here at Road Atlanta. Incredibly tricky entrance and exit as well, where you've got to take that altered line on the entrance to try and scrub off a bit of speed, but then also on the exit you're coming right out onto the racing line. It's so treacherous here. As you say, I mean, as we saw earlier on, you know, Tabino took that early stop from 4th place, came out in amongst the battle, and I've been trying to have a bit of a look, Tom. You're saying, you know, about pitting early, maybe coming out in some clean space. Based on where everyone is on the lap, I can't really see much, if any, clean space out there. I mean, if you can find, well, there you go. Samuli up with a track map, reinforcing my point. I'm not sure if there is any clean air to try and come out in. If you've got to time it absolutely perfectly if you want to slot into one of those very few gaps.
There are spots. There are certainly spots. If you look in between the 8 and the 26 car, for example, there's a bit of a pocket of clean air there, and that is a greater pocket than you may think immediately on that track map. So there definitely are places, but you would have to time it to a T. And to time it to a T, when you're trying to race and perhaps you don't have a crew chief, but Steve Elson does a bit of lawn mowing by himself. He looks like he's
running third. No, he was battling with Tabino before the stops, wasn't he? So possibly he Net may have lost a little bit of time. He has got Jason Green behind him. He is well down through the order by his high standards. Puts on himself. There's Les Pleaver trying to catch up and close the gap. Flavio Andalo through, and then someone just carries on a little bit. Couldn't quite catch who that was. I think that might have been Jeff Wubka potentially. That was Michel Vaglini in the 319 machine there, just carries straight on. That's been a tough afternoon for the Italian. Started at the back of the grid, still up 11 places, incredibly, and up one in class into 36. As here comes the move finally, Overstreet fed up of looking at the rear end of Jesus Rodriguez. It's 76 machine. She is through. Something falls off my desk there in excitement and anticipation of what is about to happen next. Can she close down the gap? She said, Tom, earlier on, it's only, 4 seconds to Andalo ahead, with so many laps, and you saw from that track map, so much traffic, people taking pit stops coming out that will then disrupt those gaps as well. This is not done and dusted like it would be in a traditional circuit, shall we say, or a much longer circuit is probably a better way to put it.
Yeah, and I think traditional circuit's a fine way to put it, because this isn't a traditional circuit. This is very much an atypical racetrack. I think we can agree on that much. This is Jesus Rodriguez again, trying to attack Megan Overstreet. So in the time we've been looking away, the brief time we've been looking away, I should mention, has finally been overtaken by Megan Overstreet, who, as we saw, was in absolutely no hurry to get the move done. Jason Perry is still trying to find a way for those two to trip over each other. Here goes the 76, then down the inside. Rodriguez will get ahead of Overstreet. Is there going to be a cutback from Megan Overstreet? I don't think so. On this occasion, I think she's going to have to wait for this one, but that has brought Perry ever so slightly into the equation.
Yeah, those two swapping around places. In the last couple of laps, they've traded places, and sure, that one's not going to go away whatsoever, but does not help them trying to catch in front of them. Oh, that's Andrew Love off, currently running second in Masters. It's okay, just rejoins back in, slot in behind Gardini there. There is the Central European driver. It's heading through. Obviously, that changed overall, not in class. Gardini being the Spec 1 driver in that 33 machine. I say he's from Switzerland based on that flag to give it an exact country. And Rodriguez Perry into the pits. Right, now that's going to be interesting. Where they're going to come out in relation to Yab Spino, who's 13th overall, and Dantas, who's 14th overall right now.
And each other. Who gets the faster pit stop? As I always get jarred slightly. Coming back to iRacing, go through each other in the pit lane. But let's have a look. These two into the pits. Love is into the pits as well.
Rodriguez overshot. Sorry, across you, Tom. Rodriguez overshot his pit box. Okay, so I think that's going to make sure those two switch around. There you go.
They do. And that is frustrating for Jesus, who now has lost a fairly sizable amount of time, actually, relative to this race. The great thing for them is that a car hasn't got in between the two of them, but he has lost a position. Where did they come out in relation to Dantas? Fairly far down. Dantas is up into 11th position.
So it's not quite where they would have hoped. Maybe they'd hoped to try and pick up some time. Well, this makes it all the more intriguing as to how this one's going to pan out. So your top 9 are yet to stop so far. There's Overstreet, and there's your leader, Marco Panera, leading by 14 seconds. Well, a bar disaster from him. I think one thing we can assume here is that when he pits, bar disaster, or any issues with it, major issues with back markers, he will come back out in the lead. Simon Mayer looking strong for second. Elson looking a little bit vulnerable right now with Andalo, but Mayer, let's not forget, he was battling with Dantas, but Sabino's got a bit of a jump on Dantas, so that was not sorted, as here is our leader into the pits, Well, that's one less one we've got to worry about. So it's outside that top 9. It's only Jim Brewster and Vogler who are yet to stop 12th and 13th for those two. And also Adam Bradshaw, 18th, yet to stop us. There goes Sabino and Dantas making it free wide here.
It's Sabino in the middle, in the sandwich with the car on his outside line, being Dantas trying to go all the way around the outside, not helping his quest to get to the jump on Panero, who is on pit exit. I think Dantas has lost a fairly sizable amount of time here, and here he's under pressure from Gould as well, who loses the car on the outside line, just onto the marbles, and just almost spinning round, holds onto it, so that's okay. Panero is out of the pits, and he re-emerges into 5th, so he will take the net lead of the race, and Dantas, who is running very high up the order, is having to, well, be faced with potentially not even a podium.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really close, isn't it? It's going to be extremely close indeed. Elson is the danger point in all of that, although I think he might have lost a little bit of time. So Mayer is the next one realistically, and probably the biggest threat in that. Well, here comes Elson into this, so we can find out where he comes out into all of the conundrum. So yeah, Mayer's going to be the interesting one, that Sabino Dantas battle of who manages to secure the last 2 places on the podium, with, well, realistically Panero looking strong as Elson, oh yeah, as we mentioned, Overstreet into the pits too, so she was battling with Rodriguez, who's down in 16th right now, so she got the jump on him. That remains to be seen.
We'll watch with intrigue where Megan Overstreet comes out of the pits then. Pellegrini will go on through. He will have pit at this stage in the race, if I'm not mistaken. He had his trials and tribulations at the start. So Overstreet's off of the pit limiter, off of the pit lane speed. Rodriguez is emerging out of turn 1. Overstreet gets the jump on both of them, and a sizable jump as well.
Now you say about Pellegrini obviously already pitting. Now he pitted on lap 5, which is, well, just over a minute nature. Let's call that 5 minutes of the race. 5 minutes 30 at worst. By my calculations, Tom, what we've seen on fuel economy across these cars, across the numerous seasons I've covered, he will have to pit again as Andalo into the pits from 2nd place at the moment, and Kurt Nunes in the leader in Masters.
This is a very fuel-efficient circuit, though, you would imagine, because there's not too many braking zones.
Yeah, the longest I've seen these cars go is to around about 7 minutes remaining. Maybe 6 minutes at very, very best. That's somewhere like Daytona with massive heavy fuel saving. So it's Bradford Gould in the pits too. So I don't think they can quite do that enough realistically to negate that. So I think I'm going to put my thoughts out there. Pellegrini will need to stop again. So will Les Plevers, currently in 13th, as there is your provisional leader Simon Mayer into the pits. Now he was battling away with Sabino and Dantas. I think he might be okay. I think he might get this one done, Tom. I've been proved wrong the right past. I'm sure I'll get proved wrong again, but I know I will.
It's bold is all I'm saying to make a prediction about this race, because it really is never over until you have seen that checkered flag.
That's the one thing you can predict. You can't predict anything.
Yeah, it's a cliche, but it's true in this sort of racing, where the pit stops are so variable and so unpredictable that you actually can't predict anything.
And there we go, point proven in case. Mayer comes out behind Tabino and Dantas by about 1.2 seconds. There we go. Yep, so what do I know?
He's going to have to hope that he can get a move on to try and attack them in the very little time we've got remaining. Don't get me wrong, it's still okay. 8 laps or so, but it's 8 minutes. I mean, that's not a long time to do anything really. And his saving grace is that Dantas is looking fairly racy in regard to attacking Tabino, as Panero is driven off into the distance. I mean, we can safely assume that he's won this race, barring any disaster at the moment. So it's all about eyes on Evandro, Dantas and Tabino and how they play this.
Now, earlier on in the Formula Ford race, Antonio Rice was leading by a very similar margin, Tom. Got caught up with back markers, had to retire, and that was inside the last 5 minutes. We've got 8 minutes remaining. Can it lightning strike twice? Can it? I mean, wow, what a turn up for the books it would be. We've got the two Brazilians scrapping away, as you mentioned, for second. Talking of scraps, Ken Batley involved in this one with Bradford Gould, but Batley getting the move done up the inside there in the 222 machine. And Aaron Gogler is also caught. Wow, he's also right in the mix with that. And Andrew Love, so that's interesting. Batley and Love, 15th and 18th. Gould and Vogler in between them, but that is for first and second in Masters. I love, can he do it? 2 wins from 2 on Super Sunday on Apex Racing TV and the Weekend Warriors after securing, well, I believe, well, certainly was his highest finish overall. Another class victory. It's everything's possible, as you say.
Yes, and I'll put the cliche book to the side for the time being, because I appreciate those who are regulars to watching this series will probably know how it lies for now, with Bately and Gibson having a battle. This isn't helpful at all for either of them, really, as we see Bately here going down the inside, and sorry, holding it around the outside as Vergele goes through on him. So I apologise again. I look at my timing tower and I don't really know what I've read there, but anyway, correct myself. Bately is battling with Vergele, and at the moment has lost that position into the chicane, but I don't think it will matter too much. He knows that this is a battle going on for the 17th position. He knows that that class victory, as Gould goes down the inside, is probably secured at this stage, and I know that the points are handed out overall, Tim, but a class victory should always be preferred over overall positions.
Oh, most certainly, most certainly. Perry and Rodriguez have been swapping their way around. Now, Brewster is now right behind Love, so we've pretty much got our top 3 in Masters separated by a couple of seconds. So that's fully game on there. We've got second and third nose to tail. Mayer has just dropped a little bit off in this closing stages, 1.6 seconds. He is behind these two as Les Blaver into the pits for his second stop of the day after taking that early stop due to damage. Pellegrini, I'm sure he's going to have to stop again. Well, I've been proven wrong already once, so never say never. But he's right behind Flavio and Darlo. I tell you what, a lot of Brazilians battling with one another here today. Tabino versus Dantas and Darlo versus Pellegrini. They're all at it here. They're out in force. 4 of them inside the top 6 right now. It's only Panero from Italy and Mayer from Germany that's in amongst all that melee of Brazilian goodness right now. I say Pellegrini will probably need to stop. Even so, still 3 of them inside the top 5. Splaver's going to come out in about 20 seconds, which is gutting for him, seeing so he stops. There you go. Finally, I've had a point proven correct. Pellegrini in.
No doubt in my mind that he would have gone for the end, and unfortunately just not quite saved enough fuel to make it work for himself. So he's into the pits and will emerge probably in the very minor positions. This is a battle we're keeping an eye on and have been through. There's Andreas Bettini. Isn't that wonderful? Up into a top 10 position once again, having used his fast repair. He's, well, able to find himself in a top 10. Pellegrini's going to re-emerge in 12th, actually. So you have to forgive me on that. That is a very good position for him. Dantas gets through. And yes, Jim.
Wow, I was just about to raise that very point. Dantas through on Tabino. So, the good thing is for Mayer, he's not been able to capitalise from these two. But as we head inside, the last 4 minutes here, the gloves are going to start to come off between these two. And if they start tripping up over one another, then that will bring Mayer back into the fight. But as the late great Murray Walker said, catching is one thing, passing is something different altogether. So, in fact, if anything, the gap seems to be growing. Yeah, it's out to 2.4 seconds. So Mayer lost, well, over the last couple of laps, he's lost about 7 tenths to those two. As there goes Jesus Rodriguez up the inside, getting the move done on Jason Perry, although Perry comes instantly back at him and reclaims the place.
Unbelievable between the two. They've just been going along all afternoon. And, well, here's Rodriguez trying to get himself back in Overstreet, down the road, 7th position. You can see here, there's a little speck at the top of your screen. In fact, that's Cathcart at the top of your screen. So Overstreet is gone. So this is the battle for 8th that we are focused on. Look at the understeer as well that Jesus is having to deal with as we go down into the chicane for what should be not the penultimate time, but the time before that. Rodriguez down the inside, trying to get that position into 8th position. He goes, gets the car stopped, gets the move done, and you know it's a sign of a very fine overtake indeed, because he's able to turn in as done.
Don't discredit Bertoni behind these two. He's biding his time as the Uruguayan, and it's he'll make his move. He's just waiting, just stalking the pair of them to get this move done. Don't discredit that one. Up 36 place as always. It's all Gardini into the pits again from 11th. Getting for him. So drop down through the order. He was up to about 22 places so far. So it's just been the topsy-turvy nature here today. We've lost so many greats, you know, Marnie, Samals, Pinero, Pinero even, catch me out there, Antonio Race, you know, all retirements very early on. Dudu Castro did not make the race start. Some big names there gone. I mean, Pinero pulling away, 16 seconds. As no, Tabino's into the pits, he must have misfueled.
That is one of the most frustrating mistakes you can make in all of sim racing, and he will feel like this is such a missed opportunity and might just save a top 10 here into the last couple of laps of the race. But apart from that, I think that will sting, promotes these guys all into the further into the top 10. Tabino will exit the pits. I think Pellegrini might just get the jump on him. We'll wait and see. Potentially not. I think there's Pellegrini, so he'll just come out about 5 seconds behind. So Tabino is okay in the end. Will save a top 10 for himself, but still not what he would like. We're about to hit the white flag though, and Pinero is going to be the man to take it.
No, I'm just having a look at where Pinero is on his lap. I think we've already had it, Tom. It's flown by. I don't know where the last 39 minutes and 30 seconds have gone. It's absolutely flown by, but he's going to be on his white flag lap. That's all. We've got a replay, and I think he might have even taken tyres by accident there. Oh no, he couldn't have done. Now, did he get an unsafe exit? Is this why we're seeing this? Is this why some really... Oh, he's going to have done... Look, that car stranded on the outside. Oh, no. Not sure. Not sure on that one,
Tom. It looked like he got away with it. And if not, where is he supposed to go? He can't phase through the car.
Well, Marco Pinero is going to take victory here, but as the checkered flag is out, that's looked distinct and... you know, bar disaster, like it wasn't going to go any other way for his second victory of the season. So, right, that's one place done. Dantas will take second, surely. But, contact between Bertoni and Perry. That means that Rodriguez will take 7th, and Bertoni, oh, wow, look at that for sporting gesture. Waits for Perry. And then gets gas. Well, he's jumped to the pits, and Bertoni's going to get going again. Well, he's such the time he's got to... Well, here comes Yao Tapino, actually.
Wow. He's gone. Bertoni's gone.
Well, that means he's going to finish 18th. Because Alson in 19th has taken the checkered flag. Well, that's going for Steve Alson. He was running in 5th at one place. Not done and dusted here, though, because we have got Gibson versus Vergele for the victory. But it looks like it's going to go to Gibson in Spec 2. Well, do you think you've seen it all? Then suddenly they find other ways to surprise you, Tom.
Yes, well, Gibson will save a top 10. And, actually, by only 3 tenths of a second, the Spec 2 lead. Bately will come home for the Masters win, so he'll be very chuffed with that one, I am sure. And, well, everyone else streams across the line. But what disappointment for both Bertoni and Perry, particularly Bertoni, who obviously started last. And now he's...
well, that's Simon Mayer out of... Oh, no, he's on his in laps. I was panicking, he's out of fuel there. But due to the short track nature, of course, he's all okay. Second in Masters, Love and Brewster, 1300ths of a second across the line. I say that like we should be surprised. It's just another day in the weekend warriors. There's Faglini, Italian, in the wall again, but he doesn't care. The race is done and dusted. And in the end, I mean, 34th, not a bad result at all. In fact, having started near the back, well, actually, Faglini started right at the back, so not a bad result. Decline all the way up there. Still remains last in class though, but. Let's try to get through some results here from Road Atlanta. Panero, your winner again, second victory of the season. Dantas, first time on the podium this season. Likewise for Simon Mayer. Fabian Darlo, fourth as Lasky, Overstreet, Rodriguez, Tabino, Pellegrini. Gibson going to run out that top 10 and take that Spec 2 victory, Tom.
Aaron Vergele is in 11th with Ken Bately in 12th. Schusel, you'll have to apologise for that one. It displays rather awkwardly on my screen. But Andrew Love is in 14th with Jim Brewster in 15th. Bradford Gould, Steve Elson and Claudio Gardini with Jason Perry and Andreas Bertoni rounding out the top 20.
And 21st was Josh Justice, Mitchell, Wood, Cathcart, Bradshaw, Nunes. Disappointing day at the races for Nunes there. Well, so many of the drivers. Berry, McCain, well, instant field for him. Then Gradwell in 29th, he was 2 laps down. And likewise in 30th, where's Paul Jackson?
And, well, in 31st is Alice Plever with Charlie Vaccaro and Tom Laurie up to 33rd. Michelle Varglini in 34th with Gianni Longini in 35th. Then it's Jason Green, Carlos Navarro, Jeff Rubka, Bob Kern and Michael Nelson.
And 40, well into the retirements now. Carbone, Pinero, Marnie, Samal's race. Well, what a set of names that is. Luca Leone and Dudu Castro, who did not make the start. Rounds out your 47 car field. Let's have a chat to some of our drivers. Well, who to pick? They've all had such dramatic races. Try and get through as quick as possible. First up, Jim Brewster joins us for the second time this evening. 2 podiums in one evening, and I'm sure you're here for Andrew Love as well.
Yes, I am.
In a second.
Yes, is that crazy? And I was on his bumper. I had no idea we were fighting for the Masters win. I probably wouldn't have been, Andrew and I have been racing sims since before Gran Turismo 1. We started with the truck game on Sierra on PCs. What is that? 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Who knows?
It's gotta be.
Yeah, so we're real good buddies. We race together all the time. We're always on Discord race. Anyway, fun race. I was 44th on I was 43rd on the 3rd lap. I got spun around. Anyway, but yeah, Andrew, once again, here he is, another win, 2 wins in one day. Pretty crazy, eh?
Not a bad day at the result, the office whatsoever for him. And well, I mean, it goes all that time, and then it's like buses. It all comes along at once, doesn't it? Just very briefly, because we're really short on time. Talk us through just what it was like out there. Short track, 47 cars out there. It looked crazy. I'm sure it was.
Well, after a while, us old guys, you get to learn. You see when stuff's happening, you back off a little bit, and you work around. And if somebody's coming by, you think he's a lunatic, you let him go by smooth. You just sort of try to play it a little careful, and you survive. Well,
there you go.
Anyway, I just want to. This weekend's a sad day. My sister always watches Argentina with her boyfriend, and she lost him a couple days ago. So it's a sad day for our, and she's my biggest fan. She watches all our races. She's a big fan of you guys, and unfortunately, she lost her boyfriend this weekend. So anyway, it's exciting to have some wins, but sad when real life bites you in the butt. Unlike this simulator racing that we love.
Well, all of our thoughts and prayers for everyone here at Apex Racing TV, to yourself and your family and your sister, their sad loss. And well, congratulations on the podium
Thank you much.
South and Andrew Love. That's Jim Brewster there in the 933 machine. Tom Dillon, who have you managed to grab for a quick chat with?
We're going to grab... I can't drag people in. Oh, no, I can. There we go. It wasn't working for a moment. We're going to drag Aaron in for the moment. Aaron Vigale, welcome to the broadcast. That was a crazy, crazy race. How did you keep your nose clean?
I don't really think I did. I got spun out around, was it lap 4 or something like that, and had to make a recovery drive throughout that. It was pretty insane out there in the field.
And recovery drive certainly happened for you, finishing fairly well in the end. I mean, it's got to feel satisfying then after being caught up in incidents early on to be able to do that so effectively.
Yeah, no, I'm actually surprised, and we almost had you in there, and I'm a little disappointed, but we were out of fuel at the end of it, so it was a fun little end of the race there.
And well, thoughts on this track as a track for racing on? Clearly, it's a very difficult one, and one where people are tripping over each other quite a fair bit.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a fun and challenging track to race on. The biggest issue is with the SRF being a momentum-based car. It's a bit difficult to make any sort of adjustment to your line once you've committed to it. So, you know, it's really easy to get into each other if someone makes a move that you don't expect or something like that in one of the corners.
Well, we're just about out of time, so thank you very much for joining us, Aaron, and I'll speak to you soon.
Yep, thank you.
Right, next up, we've got, well, I'm sure we'll feel incredibly lucky. Simon Mayer squeezing inside the top 3 after you had to be, taking that late pit stop. I mean, did you see that one coming, or if you sort of after pit stops just resided to finishing in 4th?
Well, I was hoping before the pit stops I might be able to pass them because they pitted both quite early. We made our way somehow through the mess at the exit of the chicane, and I was just trying to save as much fuel from then on as possible, and they both pitted early, but they got me on speed, I think. Happy with 3, of course.
But I mean, yeah, sometimes you just got to be there and just ride that luck, and sometimes it's a double 1, sometimes it's a double 6, but a bit of redemption after earlier on, I think you'd say.
You mean the Ray race earlier on?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a bit unlucky, I think. Maybe could have gone a bit further inside. Apologies to Jason, I didn't really hold my brakes and I managed to cause even more carnage doing that. So my apologies to everyone caught up in that mess.
It was just one of those. There was everyone everywhere. It's just one of those racing incidents where
Yeah, it's a track. It's a track for that kind of thing. It's everyone's a 10th is you're just looking at 10 places on the grid, if even more. So it's that kind of track.
It definitely is. Well, congratulations, Simon. The Simon Mayer finished 3rd overall today. And Tom, it's Ian Gibson for you.
Ian, hopefully we haven't surprised you too much. Welcome along to the stream. Talk us through your race today, which I imagine was as topsy and turvy as everyone else's.
Yeah, there was a lot of corpse dodging. It was just steadily putting the laps in. Towards the end, I thought I was going to run out of fuel. My overlay told me when I started the penultimate lap that I had like 1.8 laps worth of fuel left. So I really fuel saved on the penultimate lap and saw Aaron closing me down. But then I found out after the race that Aaron was almost out of fuel as well and doing exactly the same thing. So yeah, it all worked out in the end.
And well, I asked this question actually to the last person we interviewed in the box, Aaron, and it's about this track for racing. We've seen it definitely lent itself to carnage. What are your opinions on it, and would you like to come back here?
I prefer the longer layout at Road Atlanta, to be honest. I don't mind it. It does lend itself to carnage, but you keep it between the lines and you make up places. So I do try very hard in Weekend Warriors to have as few incidents as possible. And I think in so far this season, I think I've scored 7 incidents total, including tonight. So, my MO is to basically win through attrition, watching everybody else hit the scenery and driving past them. And that's what I tend to do. It doesn't always work like that, but has so far. Did tonight.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Ian, and we'll speak to you soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Great start just spotted on Ian. 3rd in round 1, 2nd in round 2, and 1st here at Road Atlanta in round 3. That's progression for you.
It's progression. Fantastic.
Talking of progression, up 18 places. Megan Overstreet. Megan, we're really into overtime here. Go on, give us a short sentence. I was going to say 3 words. I know you'll struggle with that. Just what it was like out there today.
It was insane.
There you go. That's all you need to know. Thank you very much, Megan. Saying it like it is, as always. No more, no less. And well, congratulations to her. She said it was insane. It was crazy out there. But then that's just the average weekend. And the Weekend Warriors. Thank you very much for joining us. Myself, Tim Cops, Tom Dillon, Samuli Kumo. We'll see you in a week's time. Make the long trip down under to Phillip Island. Thanks very much for joining us. Good night.